quick little side video. We're going to expand on the ego a little bit in the solar plexus that we talked about yesterday. So as we mentioned, I'll just give a brief overview so this video can kind of be its own video. But we're going to talk about the ego trip, kind of break down the ego and the solar plexus a little bit more, because it is a place that we get locked up in quite a bit as humans. And it's kind of one of the hardest levels for some people to kind of get out of and balance. So I'm gonna try to break it down in a simple, easy to grasp way. And let's get into it. So as we mentioned, your root chakra being one, it's like where you are, the space that you exist in. 2, being the who, like who you're with, the duo, the duality, the being one of two, having others that are like you. And then the 3 being the hierarchy, being the 3 being, now that we have others that are like us, what is going on? How do these people, operate? Like, who's the alpha? Who's the beta? Who's the mother? Who's the dad? Who's the child? Who's the teacher, and so forth. So having all those things is where the 3 comes in, the solar plexus, the hierarchy, right? So that's a quick little breakdown of how we're getting to the number 3 and the solar plexus in the ego, and kind of the why of the 7 questions. This is something that's kind of hitting me right now a little bit. Like this could be like the where, the root chakra. The who is like the sacral chakra. And then the why, in my opinion, would be the ego. And here's why. But take it or leave it, grain of salt. I might readjust that, but I'm kind of finding like a little bit of a thread here. So the ego, solar plexus, one way to kind of help us understand it and get out of it is the triples, right? The 3s. Kind of like the beginning, the middle, the end. Your ego is kind of what carries you through. It's these character arcs. It's the character progression. It's your character. It's the ability that your character has to change and to evolve and to go through all these wide ranges of emotions at different times and be different people and wear different hats in different places. Your ego is what you tap in to do that. Why you can be a boss at work, and why you can be a loving, mother or parent or friend, elsewhere. Your ego is what allows you to be all these different things around different people, It's your version of that. So a good thing to keep in mind too with the 3s is the ego trip. Hence 3 trip, right? Going on that ego trip is also talking about like the ego. Egos, a lot of us humans are concerned with death. When, it's about more than just death. It's about, birth, and it's about life. Not just about death, but we get caught up on the death side of things. And that's where a lot of people's ego kind of gets blocked. The solar plexus energy gets blocked. So I'm gonna break that down a little bit. So with the trips, the triples, you have the beginning, the middle, and the end, right? A lot of things are operating 3s in that way that kind of deal with the ego. And a lot of us, we get caught up on the beginning and the middle, and some people don't know how to end things, and some people don't know how to start things, and some people don't know how to continue things. Or we just have a hard time. Some people just, it's a challenge for them. We all have blockages in different ways, but this is a way to kind of understand your blockages. That's why when people say like, oh, they're going on a little ego trip, oh, they're tripping again. It's like, because on the outside looking in, you can see that they're starting something that's going to have a middle, and it's going to have then they're going to come to their senses and be like, oh yeah, I was tripping. It's like, and it's not just about going on a trip. Going on a trip is also, talks about the same thing, but it's about knowing that you're starting something that's going to have a continuation and then an end. It's like, oh, you're going to talk to us about this story again. Or, oh, here we go, we're going to talk about the same thing again. And a lot of people can kind of check out right at the start of that trip because they're catching on to the 1 or the 3, as opposed to the person that's on, kind of going on that ego trip, not understanding that they're doing that. They're kind of going through that beginning, middle, end process again. So, there's different ways to kind of get out of that solar plexus blockage, you can't, don't trip on too many things, don't trip too much, it's like right when you start to get angry, And then you continue and kind of be in your little mood. And then after a minute, you'll be like, oh man, I feel bad. Let me go apologize, And apologize is a huge part of that, Like you kind of go on a trip and then you apologize, after it, or you should at least apologize after it. It's a good way to kind of like learn and bounce the energy and kind of practice a little humility and a little guilt, because a lot of people get caught up in their ego and don't want to practice humility or don't feel like they need to say sorry or apologize for things. And that's kind of a thing that our generations, does a lot, which is kind of, it's not classy in my opinion, but, class is also another thing. The hierarchies has to do with ego and so forth. But, if you want to change your character, if you want to evolve your character, if you want to expand who you are as a character, you have to be able to have ego deaths. We have ego deaths all the time. You have ego deaths every time you get out of a mood or every time you switch moods, You're one person at one moment and you're another person. Sometimes you might be sweet in the morning and then you might be salty at night. You kind of have to understand that you're going on these ego trips, Even if you're gaming or something and you lose in the game, you already know how it is. It can be frustrating at first, and then you go through this whole thing of venting out, and then you're like, okay, I'm back, all right, I'm good again. Kind of go on these trips. So understanding that, kind of allowing yourself not to get too attached to your ego, and understanding that that's just a form of like how you express yourself and how you go through these range of emotions and so forth. But to also keep that in check, to also kind of be detach yourself a little bit from that whole process of the beginning, the middle and the end, and kind of doing that over and over and over again, because we will do that for our lives. And some of these ego trips take lifetimes. Like some of these ego trips involve like two people with relationships, and both people are on an ego trip and they just don't know how to end it, so they just continue it, or they have children or whatever, and it kind of makes it kind of hard to end it, so protect yourselves out here, y'all, especially if the ones that are young. It's good for y'all to understand this stuff right now, and if you are, you're ahead of the game for sure. But yeah, try not to trip out too much. Try not to go on the same trips and put other people on those same trips, and kind of understand that, sometimes just because something means something to you or matters to you, or you feel a certain way, it's not always necessary to like react on that and go down this whole rabbit hole, especially if you already know where it goes. Like, save yourself and other people the time and the energy, and it'll help you to expand more. It'll help your ego to then, now that you're not going on this little trip episode, this little time and space that you have now, you're actually able to allow your ego to go into a new light, go into a new space, maybe react a different way. It might feel uncomfortable at first. It might not feel like that's who you are, or you're out of character, but that's a part of expanding your ego. A lot of people have to feel that way in order to expand their character and to get out of their ego. You got all these like big muscular men, and then they have like a daughter, and then they got to be all, sweet and everything. But it takes things like that, expanding your ego, becoming more than who you are. You can't just get stuck in a box. Like, oh, okay, I was a goth in high school. Now my whole life is me being a goth, and I can't do anything else. And people just get stuck in one ego. And it's like, you can be so many things. And allowing your ego to expand is what allows you to move upward. Because you'll be like, okay, I'm more than just me. Like, God, what else do you want me to be? Like, you can take on more forms than just being the version of you that as, your ego goes well beyond just your attachment to this body. But also just be, don't forget to be humble, expand. I think humility and being humble is probably one of the keys I would say to the solar plexus, because you can always be humble, no matter how powerful you are, no matter how strong you are. You can always protect people, and you can always, kind of correct people too, but you can be humble about it. So just like I said with the sacral, the key is enough is enough. Knowing when enough is enough, and knowing that enough is enough. Knowing that everything that you have here is like amazing. This is abundance, You gotta, get yourself another thing. So the solar plexus, I would say just being humble, being, understanding that the universe may be more intelligent, vastly more intelligent than you give it credit for. Understand that there might be a potential that all the stuff that you're going through in life is exactly what it's supposed to be, how it's supposed to happen. Don't belittle the intelligence of the universe. Like, okay, yeah, we're humans, we can make vehicles and stuff, but like, trust me, we don't have a lot of things figured out. We would be all doing way better off right now. So just understand that like your intelligence, your creativity, you know, your beauty, it all comes from this. You know, it's not just about you. It's not, oh, okay, I got here and it's all about me and my what do you call it? My tag, my hash, not my hashtag. You know, your at name. I don't know why I can't talk in 3D terms right now, but it's all good. But you know, it's not about your profile and your brand and everything. Sometimes it's about just like, yo, you come from something that's amazing. Maybe give it a little bit more credit. Give it a little more credit. Be a little bit more humble. You could be talking to God, you know, or God could be talking to you through anyone. So allow each character to, you know, you can learn something from each character. You can learn something from each person, each thing. Even if it's somebody you may not appreciate, still take it as a possibility that this is a way for you to learn. You know, be that student and be the teacher. You know, that's playing that ego part. But don't forget to be the student, you know. A lot of us want to, especially as we get older, a lot of us don't think that we can be the student anymore. So be the student, you know. It's good to have ego deaths. It's good to have ego deaths. It's good to kind of come to a conclusion, you know. You have like the conflict, which is like the beginning, the conflict, the confrontation front, right? And then you have the continuation, which is like the middle. And then you have the conclusion, which is like the end, you know. Some people may want to keep starting things over and over and over and to kind of make themselves feel new or like, oh, I'm a new person. I did this, or I picked this up, but they don't stick with it. And so it's like, well, you can claim that you're all this and this and this, but if you don't like actually continue with it, you're going to kind of go back to falling back to where you were before that beginning of that arc, the 3, right? That's the character arc. All these arcs you go on, ego trips, same thing. Yeah. I hope y'all getting all these downloads, because I'm like, we're piecing together the universe, and it's like, you know, it's not so puzzling when you figure it out. But yeah, so where was I? Yeah, so if you start a lot of arcs, or you start a lot of new beginnings, it's like you're trying to make a change, but you're not actually committing to it. You know what I'm saying? You have to continue through to it. And some people get caught up in the continuation thing, you know? Some people aren't looking for solutions, you know? Some people aren't looking for a change, looking for a new beginning, or confronting a new thing, or concluding on a new thing. Some people just get stuck in the middle, get lost in the sauce, you know? They're too much about like, oh, I want you to hear me out right now, and I'm gonna just stay in this mood. Okay, I know you said something that probably makes more sense than what I'm going through right now, but I need to keep going through this right now. I need to continue in this, because now this feels more real than I ever did. Now I'm becoming the person that I need to be, but it's not really who you are, because you just aren't concluding that episode yet. You know, once you come over it, you're like, yeah, okay, maybe I was kind of overdoing it, but I liked being in that space, you know? Or maybe it's like, you know, you're making the change and you're continuing it, but you're not concluding it. You're not consolidating everything that's there and finding the next result, and allowing yourself to step into the next result fully and leave everything behind, you know? You got to also be able to let those things go, and also just allow that ego to die, you know? Some people truly inside still might like to play into that role, you know? They might like to do those things. So just understand those things. Understand that they're all part of it. It's the 3. Keep staying to it. Sometimes people say fake it till you make it, you know? It's kind of like that a little bit. Playing it, using your ego to move you forward. And if it's something that you really want, then, you know, you'll stick with it. But I love y'all. That's another little download, a little hack for the universe. I hope y'all enjoyed that one. We're about to get into the heart chakra, so stay tuned for that video. Love y'all.